The issue is, what is it in each one of us that keeps these ideas as even viable ideas, right? Even important ideas, but they're only ideas. They are not living truths. Now, so what is the gap in there?
And I have a question too. And even if they are somewhere in the middle, they become ideas at some point, and then they become living truth at some point. But they always kind of tend to go back to ideas, for some people, maybe not for everybody, but like nobody. Kind of my point is, none of us are perfect, and we're all going to kind of tend to lapse back into them just becoming ideas if we don't reinforce them like you and me do all the time.
Hi.
But so I think one of them is one. That point right there is obviously them being reinforced, like you and me talking about these ideas. One that helps them become more of a reality than just an idea. But I think if we're looking at something like a bigger picture for something that really affects all of us, I think that it's laziness or something. Like, I don't know. Okay, so I don't know what it is, but like,
Beautiful. It's what the Zen guys talk about specifically, and the Buddhists say generally that it is habituated. That's all. It's just habituated. That's it. It's habit energy, right? We were told very early on that these ideas are not ideas, they're truths, right? And again, the truth is that would you say that you have experienced pain and loss in your lifespan? By the way, a happy birthday yet?
Yeah, it was my birthday. Yeah, on the 25th.
Happy birthday.
Thank you. 28. Yeah.
So we have known each other now longer than you were alive when we first hooked up.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Right? Very close, right? It's very close. Maybe a couple of years more.
Yeah, it's right around there. Yeah.
Like 15 transitioning into 16, right? So it's a couple of more years. Yeah. Damn, huh? Woo!
Seriously, yeah.
Do go by, don't it?
Yeah, seriously. But it's also, like you say, like we've talked about it also is long and full,
Right.
Like, I tend to be more on the side like, wow, life is so long, more than, oh, life is so short. In my mind, I don't really find myself being like, oh, life is so short, until I start thinking about, just like the all of the different angles of death, and then it becomes like an intense idea, and then I'm like, okay, I gotta sit up and walk around the house and not think about that anymore. But I think, like,
well, again, at a certain point, you and I, and we can do it with this format, but we are going to go into death. For death to be that abhorrent is because you were holding an idea about what death is, which is only an idea, because none of us know what death is. Yeah. Right?
The only idea, I mean, we've talked about this many times, but the one thing that I do go back to a lot that really is the idea that puts it all on that is that this will not be here anymore. We will no longer have this. I will no longer be able to share my birthdays with my loved ones or talk to you on the computer. Like, this reality will be gone.
What about your loved ones who aren't here anymore?
Exactly.
No. What about, again, what you're assuming is, I'm sorry, but you were raised to be a nihilist. It's called humanism, but what is nihilism, right? Which says that basically we come out of vacuity and we return to vacuity. That is the belief. Yeah. Well, dude, that's a horrible belief. I'm sorry. That's really a horrible belief. And that's all it is. We would say, oh, no, that's the truth.
Yeah.
Well, we do not know if that's the truth.
We don't know anything. We don't know anything. But I think that nihilistic approach gets applied to all of the different versions. And then for me, there's not, a like just reincarnation. It does, unless we break out of the cycle and we remember all of our past lines of reincarnation, and we can, we have that memory. It seems like it's the same type of vacuity because there's no memory of this. So then it's almost like, it's not a memory anymore. It's not there anymore. So it's not like it really even matters.
This is based on this conviction that you just said. See, what you just said, you would not see that as a belief. You'd see that as a conviction. Yeah? right? Well, it's still based on, again, reincarnation,
yeah.
Or not.
Yeah.
The fact is that, again, if we subscribe to it, right, there's a certain amount of easy answer then. The wonderful thing about Zen Buddhism is there's no easy answer, right?
Yeah.
We're supposed to come back to a given state of suspending all of our ideas about what's going on, with the understanding that any of our ideas are going to make this event very, very, very small, right? Very mundane and very tawdry. You understand what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah. To try to put it in any realistic words just kind of automatically will diminish it and not give it what, it's so mysterious and big, no one will ever know.
Hi. But for us to steep in that unknowing, like I think I told you 20 years ago, a practicing Zen Buddhist asked me, what is my religion? And I said, I am an ecstatic agnostic. Now, anosos is the correct way to say agnostic.
Mm-hmm.
The G is silent. So what that means is without knowledge. So I am returning to being in a state of an acknowledged unknowing. And the damnedest thing is, right, in steeping in that acknowledgement, life renews itself moment by moment. Right?
Mm-hmm.
So,
and
with no
opposed to like how we have been trained in the Western society and
well, it's everywhere. It's everywhere.
Yeah, and in modern society, I guess that it just teaches us to kind of complain and not be appreciative of everything the whole time, and like we were saying,
why it's imperative to know why. It is because, again, in part, this is the thought of modern psychology, by the way, right? Which talks about, again, I think, therefore I am, which means we are what we think, and also be in touch with your feelings. So those two norms in American culture, right, actually make us crazy.
And that's the same thing that reinforces what we and me started with this conversation, just that what is it that causes people to not take these as realities but just ideas, and it's the same societal craziness that has been taught to us from babies, basically.
Yeah, it's like when I had that Gong Fu student who was missing classes, right? And I said, you need to make this a priority. He said, it is a priority. It's just that other things are more of a priority. Well, I mean, that's a fancy way of saying it's not a priority.
Yeah, exactly.
It's the same with these ideas. It's like, these are sort of engaging ideas, but, in point of fact, how do they actually benefit me, right? And we're allowed to acknowledge that. That's what we want, is we want our lives to be higher quality. Yes or no?
High.
Yes or no?
It's true. Yes, definitely.
Okay, because there is this lingering sense of dissatisfaction with what we already have. Yes or no?
Yeah, definitely.
Right? It's not enough. It's not enough. Yeah? Well, again, this is bad training. And the thing that should infuriate everybody is this is the outcome of advertising psychology that we are inundated with through all expressions of social media and regular media, right?
Yeah.
Where we're told over and over and over again that we don't have enough mayonnaise, we don't have the right kind of car, we don't have the right kind of significant other, we don't have the right kind of socks, we don't have the right kind of underwear, so our lives are fundamentally unfulfilled.
And I feel like this might be an extreme, a big extreme, but like people who say like, I've heard this before, I don't want to focus on studying or understanding like how to get enlightened yet. It's like I want to focus on partying and having fun now. He's like, I could do that later, later in life.
Well, I would say it's your choice.
It's your choice. Yeah, it's your choice. But I was just thinking that it's a similar thing where it's like, I don't want to do that right now, Well, kind of saying,
You're referencing, right, which is the lovely thing about Zen, is that you can do both. You can enjoy life and have a very, very significant and profound spiritual practice. You can do them both at the same. You can multitask. is why I do Christ things about rendering unto Caesar the things that are Caesar's. You pay your, you pay your utility bills, right? You are working now on, getting your license in a car. That is rendering unto Caesar, but you also render unto God the things that are God's. And again, our reference for the closest thing of mystery that we can look at with our own eyes and return to living miracle is the fact that we are inside a galaxy hurling through space at 140,000 miles an hour. And we feel like we're stationary. Yeah. Well, I mean, isn't that worthy just of a little bit of just review or something? Just a little bit.
Yeah, just like how can that be possible? Like, yeah, it makes no sense. Well, I mean, it makes sense, but
right.
But how? Yeah.
And the answer is it's impossible. Now, by the way, once you settle into as a reality that all of this is impossible, right? Then the idea of other worlds and other states of being, we say, no, it is impossible for there to be heaven and hell, right? We know that this is real, right? Mm-hmm. It's not. No, it's not. It's just as impossible as any projection we might have, right, about any other realm. This is impossible.
Yeah.
It's again.
I've had ideas, just like silly ideas, and it's probably based on movies, probably Stanley Kubrick and other movies that I've seen. But it's like I've imagined humans get to a point where we've lived so long that we've evolved to this ninth dimension, and we can see past time and space, and we're these omnipotent, omnipotent beings of energy that travel through the cosmos and have no, physical entity. And after a while, we get bored of doing that. We're like, what do we do now? And then they start Earth again. They start started back up again. And they start from the beginning because, like, it's almost like, Now,
if I may, I mean, all of that is sort of engaging idea. It is, right? But again, you don't know if any of this is real.
Yeah. No, of course I know.
So, but again, the lovely thing about, again, I keep pushing it because it allows us our doubt. You understand? Mm-hmm. Right? And Buddhism is the only religion I'm aware of that allows us full tilt doubt. Yeah? Mm-hmm. Just like it's the only religion that I'm aware of that has such deep humor in it.
Hi. Yeah.
By way of reference, the guy who comes to Matsu who says, what would you say to he who was carrying nothing? Now, if this guy is not carrying bullshit thought, you understand? That is a hell of a triumph. That really is. That is Krishnamurti's silent mind, where we are not riding the roller coaster day in and day out, basically, of redundant complaint. Yes? Mm-hmm. We're not doing that. We're not. Mm-hmm. Well, that's a pretty rarefied state, right? But Matsu says to him, "Put it down."
Well, and what was the question? What do you say to someone who is not carrying anything?
Not carrying anything. Yes.
Yeah. Right? Put it down.
Put it down. And the guy says, "Well, if I'm not carrying anything, how can I put it down?" Mm-hmm. And Matsu says, "After all, I see that you cannot put it down." So, what is it that he can't put down?
Even just that conviction right there, that idea.
Yeah. Yes. Well done. Well done.
That he has nothing more to put down, basically.
Hi. So then he's stalled in that conviction. You understand? Mm-hmm. Right? He stopped. And the whole point of all this, and this is also why that same Zen master, when he was asked, he said, why is meditation not meditation? And nobody answered. So he said, it's alive. And this is Krishnamurti's form of meditation, where you're doing it throughout the day. You're not sitting on your meditation cushion with your feet in your lap, oming, right? Which, by the way, is not a bad thing to do. It's not a bad thing to do, right?
But that's like probably the best way to do what we're talking about, is finding the balance between living your life and having fun, and then also walking that more spiritual path to enlightenment, is just doing koan and meditating throughout the day, in times when you're not doing anything else, when you have a couple free moments to spare.
And again, part of this is to get yourself out of the perennial funk that you would put yourself in because you've been trained to do that.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah. And I think for me, my hardest thing is when I sit in one area for too long, like in my house. If I stay in my house for like 3 days at a time, and I don't do much in those 3 days, then I start to lapse into like, you know, like more complaints, I think, and it's more me, But if I get up and go take a walk with the dogs and go walk down the street and stuff, I can change my mindset and it's not so bad. But then it's just when I don't know. I think it's when I.
Well, if I may, if you're in your house after 3 days,
Yeah.
but you've been working on the script.
Yeah. Hi.
You're not going to feel that then. You're going to feel like, oh no, I've been working on the script. Yeah.
Well, but I still feel like, oh, I've been stuck in, I'm done. I finished the second draft on it, and I'm just gonna start working again on just punching up the third, maybe
Good.
fourth draft. But
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, the rule of thumb is 4 rounds. Four rounds.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the right for refining. Right. The
sense.
fact is, again, if you can settle into the reality, not the idea, but the reality that while you are seated in your apartment in Santa Fe, New Mexico, yes, the whole planet is being upheld by the Milky Way galaxy as you're sitting in your apartment in Santa Fe. That is all happening simulcast. So,
yeah.
Even if that is a redundancy, that is, again, an impossible occurrence that allows you a partnership with immensity and therefore majesty. You understand what I'm saying?
No, I understand. Yeah, and I think that's a great point, is that we just have to remember with all of it, it's the same thing that happens to us with life at large, is that just because it becomes redundant doesn't mean that we've exhausted anything, right?
Life is not redundant. Our thoughts about it are.
Exactly. Yeah, we lapse into these thought processes that go in circles and circles, and for me, it becomes exacerbated when I'm like in one area for too long, so like going outside, it totally does that, where it reminds me, oh yes, I'm in the cosmos, and I don't have to be stuck on the cycle, and I can,
inside or outside, are you not still in the cosmos?
No, exactly, and that's the point of all this, is even inside I am, and it becomes, we need to step away from things being familiar and redundant, because even though they are not, if that makes sense.
Well, this is the habit energy that all of Buddhism talks about and Zen talks about specifically. Yes? Habit energy. We have these habituated thoughts. By the way, this is why, to a degree, when people get old, they lose mental capacity, because they're just using the same synapses over and over and over again and not making new synapses by doing new stuff, which can be watching a finch this morning in meditation, doing that clarion call that goes all the way through your body, right? And it's this tiny little being. It's very big, right? Yeah. And its song it pierces your like bone marrow. It is so clear and so beautiful.
So that's almost like, that to me makes more sense why it would connect some new synapses or whatever, just because how powerful, even just its little voices, But
now, did you see Dawn by any chance yesterday morning?
Oh no, I did not know.
Well, dude, it was this amazing cloud bank that looked like the Himalaya. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, over to the northeast, south, to the west, or which side?
South. It was southwest.
Southwest,
right?
Yeah.
And again, underneath it, there was a storm, and because it was a thunderhead, right, with majestic, this beauty, the cumulus that we get here.
Yeah, it's incredible. Yeah.
Right, amazing, right? And every now and again, a jet plane will go through it, and then you get a sense of its astonishing size. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So underneath it was this rainstorm happening over the Sandias, right? And because of the morning sun, it made segments of it all rainbow color.
Yeah, that's incredible. So, does Hawaii have the same kind of cumulus clouds like that? Like those big, yeah. So they have very similar sunsets. So, so like I've looked at lots of pictures of like Hawaii and even Japan. Japan has those similar really pink and like thick sunsets. But yeah, we're one of the few places that has that same, feeling to it, which is it's very special, I think. But like we're saying, anywhere can be that, anything can be that.
Right. So and the reason why it isn't, now there's some places that no, the bowels of solitary confinement in a prison, not so much. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
A whorehouse in the bowels of Mumbai that, where, 8-year-olds are turning tricks, not so much. Yeah. So again, this is not stupid. What we're talking about is not lapsing into some kind of new age Novocaine. We're not talking about that. But what we are acknowledging is that we use endless nows inappropriately, right, in regret and concern over the past and anxiety and anticipation over the future. Yeah?
Yeah.
And meanwhile, there are all these nows occurring that are non-problematic for us. You understand? While you and I are having the ease to discuss this stuff, there's probably a couple of billion people right here, right now. Their here and now is really fucked. Yes?
Hi.
And for trillions of beings, like the trillions of beings who are now being burned alive in the Southern Oregon fire, them here and now is really not so fantastic. Yeah? Right?
Yeah.
For you and I, our here and now is absolutely seamless in it being non-problematic. Nothing bad is happening.
Huh? And I think one thing that's really important to be able to acknowledge that is just so they don't, well, obviously that's the whole point of it, but we spend so much time wasting our good moments. And then when we get to an actually bad moment, we can't even handle that because the good moments were so bad,
Right.
And so
made the good movements, right? We negated the initially the neutrality of the here and now. We can start with that. Nothing bad is happening, right? But then we go into using neti, that Hindu reference of not this, right here, right now. Are you in a state of envy?
No.
Are you in a state of anger?
No.
Are you in a state of sorrow?
No.
Right? Are you in a state of indignation?
Like I deserve more or something, like
whatever.
What does that mean? I don't know what indignation means.
It's like, yeah, please, God damn it, what up? Yeah.
Yeah. No.
Okay. Are you in a state of despair?
No.
Okay, so let's just take it back to neutrality. So let's just say that it's nothing better than neutral, right? Yeah. I mean, how about being in a state of neutrality instead of all those negative states? Because you just acknowledged that here and now they have no place.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think that what happened to me is my peripherals, when we were going down the list of things that were bad, my peripherals opened up. Hi. And I took in more of my surroundings, and it was like almost like, look what you have,
This is the point. And what we have extends all the way out to our relationship, not just with the river of stars, but with the Big Bang. Not just with the Big Bang, but what the Big Bang banged out of. I mean, we are in eternity. That is really happening. This is really happening. Huh? Right? Yeah. And again, we have been placed in a situation of relative comfort.
Yeah. And one thing that I see just with social media and with podcasts, Joe Rogan and all these guys talking about eating healthy and stuff, is it's talked about so much that how we sleep terribly, we look at our phones too much. You're probably not in this category, so me and my peers, this is more us, but we don't sleep enough, we look at our phones too much, we eat really unhealthily, we're not exercising enough, so we're not doing anything to give our brains the ability to just say I'm neutral. We're fighting our own kind of our best interests all the time.
Yes, well stated. We are fighting our own best interests. You were absolutely right about that statement. Yeah. So anybody who hears this, that is nugget right there, right? That we compromise our own best interests. We do it all the time.
It's absurd,
With bad diet. even with looking at your cell phone too much, I don't care about any of that stuff. The fact is, now this does have merit, and I'm really happy to know that that Joe the man is starting to talk about things like good diet. Now I wonder what that means to him. Again, as a 53-year vegetarian, yeah, I know what a good diet is, and guess what? It worked.
Yeah.
At 70, I can still do everything I need to do, right? Yeah. It works. It works.
Yeah, I mean, not to toot your horn or anything, but for a 70-year-old, you are definitely, I think, one of the more healthy 70-year-olds I know on the planet, and physically capable.
No, it ain't magic. It's long-term good diet, long-term exercise, long-term meditation. I think long-term cannabis use. Sorry, gang. I think that has something to do with it too. Yes,
yeah, I'm sure. Well, so everybody I know, not everybody, but I know so many people who just go to the point of saying, I'm depressed. I'm depressed. I'm sad. I can't. It's a mental disorder, and I can't get out from under it.
Right.
But it's kind of like what I just did with you going over what's wrong right now, and me logically assessing them and going down that list. And it does. Your brain is powerful.
Right.
My point is, with all this, your brain's powerful. So if you don't give it the capability to go forward, you're going to be kind of more depressed and sad. And if you just reassess, all it takes is just reassessing, using your brain.
Dude, what you're saying now is reassessing. You're not saying good diet or looking at the cell phone less, all of which is important. Mm-hmm. I understand. I think it's vastly important, but it is not foundational. What is foundational is not believing everything you think. That is foundational. We do not have to do this. Yeah. And there is a difference between what we think are random thoughts and being in a state of open awareness. Those are very different things. Yes? Huh?
And I don't hear anybody talking about that. So I don't think I know anybody that, besides maybe this one dude. He was a man. It was in a movie. It was in a comedy, and he was talking about how he was saying to his son or to a kid that they're not gay. He was like, "Oh, you're not gay." He's like, "My mind wanders sometimes, but that doesn't mean anything." And that's the only time I've really ever heard anybody besides what we're talking about now of someone saying, "I'm not my thoughts. Right. My thoughts are there, but I'm not them." But that's never really talked about in our society, and I don't think people really understand that. So I think it's a really alien.
You're right. Yeah. Again, this is all of Zen Buddhism. This is all of it. You are not what you think. You are something much more profound than that. Yes? Yeah. Which, again, at a certain point, what you just did, Alex, when we were going down, are you this? Are you this? Are you no. And you said, my peripherals opened up. And the acknowledgement of my peripherals is not bad. Not bad. So again, imagine you spend a lifespan, not bad, or a lifespan of Freud dying saying, I see now that none of this was worth it.
Yeah, right. Yeah. I mean, that's kind of what the scary part of Christianity does, is saying this is all a test, and this is all,
Well, it's not just Christianity, it's Judaism and Islam as well. Let's be clear and let's be fair, right? Yeah. It is what are now being called the desert religions, which is so appropriate.
The three Abrahamic faiths, right?
Huh?
The three Abrahamic faiths, right? That's what they originally called.
Indeed. Yeah. Oh. Which is, again, important to reinforce because, the Jews and the Muslims and the Christians have been killing each other for millennia, for God's sake, right? Even though it's all the same foundational belief system. It all comes out of Judaism. It's so stupid. It's just stupid.
Over the most not minute, but over different interpretations of a thing, of the same thing.
Mostly what it all distills down to is I'm specialer than you are, which is why it's special. Yeah, I will allow exceptional. Gandhi was an exceptional human being. Einstein was an exceptional. The Dalai Lama is an exceptional human being, but that does not make them special. Mm-hmm. Yeah, right? Ain't nobody here on this planet but us sentient beings. Yeah. Sperm whales and sand fleas and human beings. At that depth of consideration, we are all one. We are all the same.
Yeah, we are all special in that regard.
Yeah, but not special, right? We just are.
Yeah.
Are. Doesn't have to, there's no quality or quantity that has to be added on to that. And this is the terrible thing that we've been talked into with Americana view of life, is that it is endless acquisition. That is what makes life better. Mm-hmm. And all it really does is make life more burdened.
Yeah, hi. No, I understand. I mean, yeah.
Again, right here, right now, do you need anything added to you? Right here, right now, do you need you might be hungry and you could say, yes, I need to eat something.
I might drink a sip of coffee, but that's about, that's about it right now.
Yeah. That could not be, if you really look at it, that cannot be construed as dukkha, an anguish sense of lack. It's like, no, I'm hungry. So I'll go eat something.
Yeah.
Right. End of problem.
And to what we were just saying, where money is kind of a burden, it always goes back to some of the most wealthy people I know are always some of the most just not happy, at odds with the world, at odds with everything, and the world around them. And it's a weird thing because there's a documentary called Happy. I think it's just called Happy, and it goes through and it just basically kind of says what is happiness, but it shows all these people in third world countries who are poorer than anything I've ever experienced in my life, and they seem to be some of the happiest people on the planet. And so it just makes that question.
For my lifespan of 70 years, that has always been it is the damnedest thing. Yeah.
Right.
And the fact is, the lovely thing about poor people is they understand how little we actually need. And this is the Buddhist thing again about we misconstrue wants and needs all the time, right? So if you need a Lexus and you can't get one, you are shit out of luck, right? If you want a Lexus and you can't get one, well, that is an unfulfilled want.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So the Buddhists say that there are, and again, because Buddhism is monastic in foundation, right? It does not include things like intimate love and stuff like that, only because it's monastic. Mm-hmm. But the four needs in life are food, clothing, shelter, and medicine, right? Those are the needs. Everything else is a want. Well, again, if we can bite down hard on that, right, as a truth, you understand, it becomes a living truth, then it is true that many of our wants are unfulfilled. Yes? Right?
Yeah, I think, well, for me personally, I think I can go down the list and be pretty objective about the things that I want and need. And I think that the only thing out of all of those things that I probably don't even need, maybe I just want, and it's a big list of wants, the only thing that might ever cause me any little bit of anguish or whatever is definitely the love relationship thing. It's never material items. I don't ever get caught up or sad because I don't have enough material items, even though I see people with a lot more. I feel like that's always something that I don't want more stuff. I like having less.
Just for a second, let's say that companionship is actually, for instance, you've known me a long time. I have lived alone with the exception of the 8 years of my marriage, almost 8 years of my marriage, right? Since I was 16 years old, I've lived alone. Yet, I have never been alone, ever, ever. And finally, who is my beloved?
Your friends.
My beloved is the Earth.
Yeah.
It's an extension of the Milky Way galaxy, which is an extension of the Big Bang, which is an extension of God only knows what. Yes? So again, it is impossible to be alone. It's impossible. It's impossible. Right?
Yeah. Huh? No. I also conflict with that thing where I'm like, I want companionship, but then I hate being around people, and I like being alone so much more, So I do like being alone a lot. There's even a weird thing. This is another extreme example, but watching movies. I like watching movies by myself a lot more than with other people. And there's something about being with another person where the wave forms of our brains, there's something else there, and when I'm by myself, I don't have that feeling of having to think about anybody else, or and so
And I do understand. Yeah, when I used to go to movies, in movie houses, right? I vastly, and I'm an old New Yorker, right? So in New York, that's one of the things you're trained to do is, there's so many movies that, of course, you don't go to movies by yourself, right?
Yeah.
That's the standard. But again, please remember that before we get into too much sort of a little bit of drift with specifics. Again, we're coming back to, the difference between needs and wants. And what we are trained to believe through the media, right, is that a lot of our wants are actually, they are real needs. And then if you are missing out on a need, right, then life can look very bad. If, again, you are just missing out on some wants, not so much.
Yeah.
So,
where does the companionship relationship thing fall into that? Because you said that Buddhism is monastic, so they don't really take that into consideration. But where do you think it falls into that?
It's what my old guru said in India. 1 and 1 is 11. I mean, again, we have been trained to believe that the significant other is going to bring us happiness. Well, let's say that you start with you already being happy and you hook up with another person who's already happy, then you are going to have happiness squared, for Christ's sake. 1 is 11. You dig? Right? Then what you have is more happiness, right? Not less happiness and again, to have the expectation that externals will bring us happiness, right? Particularly with people, that can degenerate very quickly into a form of emotional cannibalism.
Yeah.
You need to fulfill my needs, right? Well, again, that is treating the other person like a hot dog, right? I mean, right? Then the other person is food.
And what always happens endlessly is it becomes I'm angry at you because you're not fulfilling my needs. And then
Right. Even to the lunacy of, if you really loved me, you would anticipate my needs.
Yeah.
Because you don't do that, you suck.
Yeah, you don't love me. You don't care for me.
You see, this is lunacy, right? Now, but it's not just lunacy because of the expectation of the other fulfilling one's needs, but also a deeper lunacy in that we confuse superficial wants and necessary needs endlessly, right?
Yeah, and I don't know if this comes from thousands of years ago or from the 50s and the American family unit or, a marriage and everything, but, it's just so ingrained into us that we have to, it's genetics, it's a part of our instinctual DNA, our makeup, but, having kids, having a family, having kids, having a loved one and reproducing and before you die is, it's important, but it becomes so superficial in our society that it becomes one of those things that people think they need instead of just something that
that expression of life is going to fulfill all of the real needs of life unto, again, not just self-actualization, but self-realization. What is it that we actually are? See? And again, from meditation that within you are not male, you are not female, you are not American versus Ukrainian, you are not, Santa Fean versus an Espanolan, none of the divisions that humankind rises and falls with every single day, none of those things have any reference at all.
I don't know if this is important, but like we were talking about last time, you come into this world alone and you go out of the world alone. You can have people next to you, but no one can make that journey with you. That is a journey, that we all do next to each other. You're doing it and I'm doing it and my animals are doing it, but we all take it alone. It's just a journey that, I don't know, you don't take with anybody else the whole way, from beginning to end.
I say to you that finally the religious quest is the most private thing in all of life. This is between you and eternity. And if you, in that reference, then you have relationship with eternity. Yeah? Mm-hmm. That's very, very foxy companion. Oh, very.
And I mean, you know, knowing that this is all limited engagement and that everyone that you are going to know is going through a similar thing, but your time with them is limited engagement, but eternity is there, you know, it's, it is, you know, I feel like the biggest, I don't know how to say that, but the biggest thing.
Paradox.
Yeah, it's a paradox, definitely.
It is indeed. Now, again, let's just take, you know, it is true that we are not going to have, Alex is not going to have Chris, and Chris is not going to have Alex forever. That is true. Right? So with that is a real live acknowledgement, and we don't lapse into bitterness behind that, right? Then how might we consider treating each other if you knew that today was the last day that you and I were ever going to have interaction in eternity, right? How would you treat me?
I mean, yeah, with great amount of respect, and, you know, but also how would you treat each moment, you know? Would you waste those moments, or would you appreciate them?
Hi. You know? Now, see, we do have a choice to say, because it's limited, it's all fucked. Okay, you're allowed to, you can do that if you want. That is called nihilism, right? And again, you know, the French existentialists, right, the European existentialists, they just took that to home plate. You know, this is in between World War I and World War II, and I don't blame them. Right? You know, but the fact is that is still a limited way of looking at what's going on. The Buddhists would say, life is suffering. Gee, you think? You know, Now let's go into why life is suffering. Okay, so the Buddha said life is suffering because of attachment to things. Right? So if we can say, well, you know, it is foolhardy for me to love Alex because I know at a certain point, right, I'm going to die, right, and Alex is going to die, and according to what we see, there's a good chance that we might not ever be able to be with each other again, right? So it is my choice to say, because of that, my relationship with Alex is tainted, yeah? Right? Therefore, I'm not going to invest in it. That is a choice that we have. That is free will. Or I can say, God, this thing is occurring in the middle of always and everywhere, of the infinity of space and the eternity of time. This is happening in the middle of all that, right? Somehow I get to know this other human being, right? Well, again, based on that, it might be in my interest to cherish that interaction. Yes?
It seems like the only thing that makes sense to me, and maybe one reason that so much of us go towards nihilism is because we don't think that, like, death is, we don't really believe, I mean, I know that it is. I'm not saying we as in me, but people don't think that death will ever really touch them. So it allows them to sit in this nihilistic view of, oh, it's all just bullshit. It's all, but if you really do come to the fact that this is a limited engagement, we have a small amount of time here, and we will never come back to this, then maybe you might not want to waste your time here.
When I go to Maui, right, which I haven't done now in years, but, you know, and I would go, I'm here. I'm actually here. I would go to Burger in Paradise, right, overlooking Lahaina Bay, and I'd go, I'm here. Right? Not, I'm only going to be here for 2 weeks, therefore fuck it, right? It's like, I'm here. Well, the same is true of me in Santa Fe. I'm here. I'm here. This morning doing meditation on the deck with Big Boy on my lap. I'm here. And it's beautiful. It's so beautiful. Yes? Now, is that going to help with the immigration problem at the border? No. Right? Is it going to allow me a little sense of gratitude? Yes. And in a state of gratitude, might I be a little bit more willing to be of service for others? Absolutely. Absolutely.
And have more energy to do so.
Indeed, indeed. So this is win-win. This is called win-win. Now, this makes sense to you. I know this makes sense to you. Yeah? But again, the deal is, like that gal, we've done this before, in you and I talking like we're doing now. But again, I'm doing the meditation with this gal. I go, okay, what's happening? And she says, with this flat-lined intonation, I am in touch with the divine within. If you were really experiencing I said to her, when you can say that with tears streaming down your face, then you got it. Then you got it. Because then it is not a clever idea or an engaging idea or even a profound idea. It is a living fact. It is a truth. You understand? Right?
And, yeah, that kind of brings it back around to full circle where we started with, is what stops these things from becoming truth instead of just ideas,
Right. Now, that in part is the spiritual practice of each one of us, right? What is it in you that would say, yeah, Chris, these are good ideas. They're even valid, profound ideas. But again, there is no meat on the bone. There is no sustenance in these ideas. Well, again, when these ideas become truth, there is amazing sustenance. There is amazing. As I said one time, wrote in a letter to my dad when I was in India, I want a peanut butter and universe sandwich, baby.
That's great. Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, I think the main points that we've all talked about, like, I think like what I said before is they're kind of taboo for a lot of people. So they're not talked about a whole lot. But for me, I've been talking about them with you for so long. The main points are also like, almost just like intuitive or just like obvious, but
yeah, it's like you think. But however, so then the next step, and this is true of anybody who invests in working with these ideas, these tools, it's like, okay, what in you is keeping these as engaging ideas, again, even profound ideas, but not as living truth? What that means is there are other ideas. My reference for this is years ago, one of my Gong Fu students was missing class. So I said to him, you need to make this more of a priority. And he said, it is a priority. It's just other things are more of a priority. Well, I'm sorry, dude, but that means it's not a priority.
Yeah.
Right? So again, it's the same with, well, yes, these are engaging ideas, right? No, Chris, I understand. These are truths, but they're not. They remain engaging ideas where there is no sustenance. You do not feel like you've gained a good meal. So, and this is in Hinduism, this is called jnana yoga, the yoga of knowledge, where what you do is you strip things away. Not this, not this, not this, not this. So this is the process again, with you and with Amos right now. It's okay. Your task is to go, I feel you. I get it, right? What you're talking about has merit. It is valid. However, I have these, for instance, with somebody I did this with, and I go, okay, right here, right now, what bad is happening? And the person said, my body is deteriorating. It's like, okay, it is. It's true. It's true. I got it. And because of that reference for that person, the now was compromised.
Because that's an all-time now, that's always happening, or that's going to be continuously happening to them until they die.
Yeah. So again, to have that be, since that is a given, and that is true of all expressions of individual being, from planets to galaxies to trees to people to whales, all that is always happening. That is a given. Yes. Right? So we can then choose to say, therefore, any good is overwhelmed, which is what so many people do. Yes or no?
Did that person say they were in pain? Did it say it was hurting them, or was it just this is occurring?
Acknowledgement of decline unto disease and death. And the answer to that is, you think?
Well, then that's like, so what? Don't waste your time right now thinking about that, because if it's not affecting you right now, if you're in pain, if you're like serious pain, maybe that's a little different,
Right, so then what do you do? If you're in serious pain, then what do you do with the now?
You relax and take it easy.
No, you find a way out of the pain.
Yeah, right? Exactly.
You have a headache, and then now you go, I got a headache in this now. So the answer,
but you acknowledge it.
Go take a Tylenol.
Yeah, you acknowledge it and then assess it and then deal with that. And you have to acknowledge it in the first place.
Right. And this is me saying to you, if you find yourself throughout your day, if you find yourself, in less than an open state, it's like, okay, what is bugging me? And then you claim it. And then you apply the meditation protocols. Is anything bad going to happen if I let go of this concern in this here and this now? Yeah, now, sometimes, which is the second protocol, you're going to go, no. My joke about this, I told you, was some years ago. I go up, I start my morning meditation, and I do that. Okay, right? Right now, is there anything so pressing that I got to take care of it right now, right? And, oh, shit, I forgot. There's a cherry pie in the oven. Right? So then I had to get up in that now and that here and go down, take the cherry pie out of the oven, which I did. It smelled delicious. And then I go back upstairs and I do my meditation. I go back into my meditation, right? But then there's no lingering whisper of burden, responsibility. That is all gone. And then again, I am open to the exquisiteness of this here and this now. For me, I get it. I understand. There are billions of people and there are trillions of beings, again, who are going through terribly compromised now. But not me, not this here, not this now. Huh?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's why it's important to do what you were just saying, is assess the situation. Most of the time, it's not so bad. And so that we should...
Again, for us, most of the time, it is absolutely neutral. And in neutrality, if you'll excuse me, it's really good.
Yeah. And do you think it's more than neutral, or do you think neutral is like what we typically align with?
That's as far as people usually take it. But so what I do with people who are learning the meditation, I go, okay, are you experiencing envy, anger, sorrow, despair? No. Well, dare one say then that in this state you might be experiencing the opposite of that? Which is very subtle. You see what I mean?
It was like my peripherals opening up. It was very subtle, but it was like, oh yeah, this is not so bad,
And again, if you really look at it, not so bad, dude.
Yeah, no, this is actually pretty good.
Excuse me, pretty good?
It's actually pretty damn good.
Yeah, so what is your reference for very, very, very good that is then compromising your here and now? I mean, does it have to be Tony Stark's home in Malibu over the cliff face that gets blown up in one of the movies?
Yeah. I hope not.
And again, why would it? I mean, why would you need that kind of unbelievably ostentatious affluence in order to have your here and now just be chock full of nuts? Wonderful, love.
Yeah, I think that's crazy. It's absurd almost.
It's stupid.
Yeah, and the thing is with big houses too, like really big houses, people don't even use half of them. They go in two different rooms, and then and so it's like so much wasted space. I could never, bring myself to have that much wasted space, and just for my own sake of
my home, which again is 1,350 square feet, based on world consideration. If you'll excuse me, people with Tony Stark mansions, right? I'm sorry, but with the suffering that's going on, I would not dare have a place any more affluent than what I already have. Thank you. Mm-hmm. I would be ashamed. I'm sorry. This needs to be said. Yes, to have an affluence like the Tony Stark character, right? I mean, if I had that much wherewithal, right, it would seem to me that it would be imperative that I spread that wealth around, right, to other people and other beings in need, maybe buy a new zoo in San Diego so that no animals are in cages so that human beings can look at them. Do you see what I mean?
Yeah, I'm having not a moral conflict, and I obviously know the solution to this, but I'm having a small moral conflict about filmmaking because I spend so much money on it. It's millions of dollars to create these films. I'm like, I can't bring myself to spend $1 million just so I could destroy all this stuff and and create my So my work around it is,
I would say it would depend on what the message of the movie was. You see, now even with all the Marvel DC things, the terrible thing that causes me so much sorrow about all these superheroes is that it's still based on power, seeing us through to some place of quality of life instead of clarity. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, but also like.
But also, dude, I'm sorry, Alex, we got to stop.
Hi.
Because I only got an hour until my next one, but this is good. And I also did say that you're putting headings on the videos, and that's very cool. And maybe it will pique people's interest. But again, the fact is, like Suzuki Roshi said, when his wife jumped on him about obsessing over writing lectures in English, even if there was only a couple of people attending the lectures, and he said it doesn't matter. One or 1,000, it doesn't matter. That's not what it's about. What it is about is making these ideas available. And again, I'm not saying that you and I are the only people who are doing this, but the fact is, along with Eckhart Tolle and Ram Dass, right, the Be Here Now gang, right, we are referencing that as part of the tool set to bring about unbelievably improved quality of life, and that is worth the consideration. So only one person listens to this, but they get it, and it goes from ideas to living truth. That is a good use of lifespan for both you and I. Yes,
and I think it's good just that it has kind of a house, it has a place just to exist, outside of us, so other people can go and look at it, even maybe past us, like.
Indeed. At least the information is once again being presented in hopefully a coherent enough way, not with answers, but with deepening question, so that if people do listen to it, if nothing else, it piques their interest. What is this thing about being in the now? What did that cartoon character mean when he said, life, the present is a gift. That's why it's called the present. What does that mean? And again, in leaving today, right here, right now, for you and I, what bad is happening?
Yeah, none.
None. You understand? We're not dealing with about a COVID. We are not dealing with, the issue of gun control. For you and I, right here, right now, yes, as our place, our center, right, is Santa Fe, New Mexico, right, coasting into August. And again, this time of year in Santa Fe, New Mexico is heavenly.
Yeah, no, it's been incredible, especially us in New Mexico right now. We are so lucky too with the weather. It's been right? Superb.
Now, even though the rain every single day, it continues, right, means that I'm stalled with the work that we're supposed to do. I don't care. It's too wonderful.
Seriously. Yeah, just got to appreciate it.
Hi. So this is a question then of reflecting what has more merit, what is therefore more real, and what is more real, again, is in the midst of eternity, I'm looking out my door and there is northern New Mexico in the sunlight with the bird song and all the rest of it. And, I am not in the midst of civil war or famine or disease. Right?
Yeah.
So here.
How did we get so lucky, honestly?
Indeed. And I'm old fashioned, so I would not say lucky. I would say blessed. Thank you so much. Yeah. And we'll get on with that at another time. So anyway, dear young man, I love you, and I'll see you tomorrow.
I'll be there. I love you too, man. Take care.